President Nixon's appearance came to you live from the Conrad Hilton Hotel in Chicago as a special report from ABC News. We now resume our regular program schedule following station identification.
Well, the president finished on a very strong note, warning Europe that unless it was willing to sit down with the United States and talk economics and diplomacy, that the two great continents would go it alone. The president got stronger as the hour went on. He is standing now with Mayor Daley. Mr. Clark of the Tribune Company obviously is going to make some presentation or acknowledge his presence and the questions and answers that he took and responded to in Chicago. The president is returning to Washington later this afternoon after a Republican reception in Chicago. Over the weekend, he goes out again to Nashville, Tennessee, and then next week to Houston, Texas. Here's the president again.
I only asked the mayor to come up here because I just wanted to assure this audience that despite the fact that I at times may have appeared to be a bit partisan, I didn't intend to be at all.
Mr. President, thank you for that wonderfully interesting and informative and candid presentation. We are looking forward to your next appearance before the Executives Club of Chicago. May I remind you, please stay at your tables until the President has left the room, which we hope he will be in no rush to do. Thank you.
The reference, of course, to partisanship was a dig that the president got in earlier during the hour at the Republican senator from Illinois, Charles Percy. Those two men have never gotten along very well, and in response to a state senator, a Republican state senator, who said that the president was beloved in Illinois, Mr. Nixon said, "I wish you'd tell your U.S. senator that." Later on, he explained that he did not mean to attack Senator Percy, but only was suggesting that he helped work out the problems of the GOP, and then if he were the nominee in '76, he would be proud to run on a great platform, he said. The president today insisted that he is cooperating with the House Judiciary Committee by turning over 19 tapes and 700 documents. He said, as for the other 42 tapes, which are reported to deal with the cover-up, the president said that we have probably gone as far as we can, and we've gone as far as we can has probably weakened the White House. He said, the president did, that he must protect the confidentiality of conversations at the White House. He said if that principle is completely destroyed, implying that it already has been partially destroyed, then future presidents will be surrounded by what he called eunuchs. He said Watergate was disturbing and wrong. He said he had said that before. He said that he will not resign simply because the polls have him in a low rating. He got a standing ovation when he said that he would not be a party to any destruction of the White House. There was no clarification today over whether he knew or didn't know on March 21st, 1973 about the demands for hush money. Once more, the president.
I am going out. They said you were waiting for me to leave. And let me say, I've appreciated your response and your patience. And while I leave the podium, I don't expect to leave the presidency till January the 20th, 1973. 77.
The president obviously was enjoying being with friends, and most of them were his friends. They gave him a warm round of applause, several sustained bursts of ovation, and at the end he said, I'm leaving, but I just want to let you know I'm not leaving till 1973, and then he corrected that, I'm not leaving till 1977. The president also said today that he would not testify on behalf of any of his indicted colleagues, even though his testimony might result in their exoneration. And he said his quarrel with the Internal Revenue Service revolved around what he called a technical point on paperwork, whether that paperwork was completed in time. With me in our Washington studios as we watch the president work his way out of the hotel room is Bruce Morton, who has covered the House Judiciary Committee deliberations on Capitol Hill and may have observed some things that got by me. Did you find, Bruce, any clarification about the so-called hush money problem?
No, I really didn't, Roger. I was trying to write as quickly as I could and get that down. The problem, of course, is that last August the president said in a news conference that he was told then about money, but believed it was lawyers' fees. No question of it being hush money. At his most recent news conference, March 6th, he said that he was told on the 21st that it was hush money. The White House had indicated in advance that Mr. Nixon was prepared to clear that up today, but he really didn't. He said he was told on the 21st that payments were made. It was alleged that payments were made for the purpose of keeping them, the Watergate defendants, still. That was just 2 days before the original defendants were sentenced. And then he said that Mr. Haldeman, Mr. Mitchell, and Mr. Ehrlichman had denied that and should be allowed to establish their innocence in court. So we're left with that unresolved, really. The president, I thought, seemed to be sticking to his most recent version, but was saying if they recall it differently, they ought to have every chance to prove that what they recall is right, which is fair but not very clear.
I don't know whether that failure to enunciate is the president's failure or the failure of a soft, mushy question, and whether that proves that if you really want to find out good, straight answers, you should go before the press. I don't think that's fair to those business executives. But at least the president was able to take the questions and turn them to his own good advantage and make a lot of good points that obviously raised his standing in Chicago.
Oh, took them and ran, I think. A series of mini speeches almost, with people coming to their feet in applause after some. One other point, I suppose, is that Mr. Nixon today, like a lot of White House spokesmen at one level or another all week, has been hinting strongly that the Judiciary Committee now has everything it's going to get for its impeachment investigation, but he stopped short of saying that flatly. When either he or his lawyer, James St. Clair, does say it flatly, we're at confrontation time. The committee is prepared to subpoena the evidence it wants.
This is all the time we have. I must end the broadcast with by admitting a mistake of my own. I referred earlier in the hour to the non-press segment of our society, and I meant the managing editors in Disneyland last fall. I apologize for calling them non-press. I meant non-Washington press. For Bruce Morton, this is Roger Mudd, CBS News, Washington.
This has been a CBS News special report. This is CBS.